My daughter invited her 8-year-old friend to swim in our new pool, and friend brings her toddler sister along with swimsuit on. I told friend's sister could swim too if mom comes to watch her and send her home with that message. Sends both back again. Repeatedly. So let me tell y'all about how this tried to have me be her free babysitter lifeguard. We just got one of those above ground pools you set up yourself that is 4 feet deep and 14 feet round. We spent the majority of 2 days prepping and filling it and letting it warm. Finally yesterday it was ready and my daughter asked if she could invite a little girl she is semi-friendly with from down the street to come to swim with her. Since they are 8 they are tall enough to stand with heads above water. I said okay. Well, her little friend brought her toddler sister, who is probably on the younger side of 2. Definitely too small to stand with your head above the water. Well, I tell her friend that her little sister can't get in the water unless her mom is here to watch her and send her home with the message. They both come back and she says mom said she's fine in her float and I can watch her. And I said no, it's not fine. I do not think an 8-year-old is responsible enough to watch a toddler in a pool, and I am not going to be the one watching her either. You need to tell your mom either she comes to watch your little sister or she is not getting in the pool. They both go home and then both come back. At this point, I am livid and walk back to their house with them and pound on the door. No answer. I keep knocking, and then the garage door starts to open with this woman backing her car out. I quickly went and stood at the end of the driveway with all the kids in tow, both of hers and both of mine. She gets out of her car all pissed off and asks me what my problem is. I tell her my problem is that I'm not her babysitter and that I am definitely not going to be responsible for keeping her baby from drowning in my swimming pool on my property. She then proceeds to start baby talking her own kids, saying I'm so sorry babies, the mean lady isn't going to let you swim, I'm so sorry princesses, and on and on. Of course, the toddler bursts into tears and then screams at me, look what you've done. You've made her cry and ruined her day. Hope you are proud of yourself. She then snatches up her little sister who is screaming and tosses her in the car and screams at her friend to get in too. Friend is red in the face and you can tell she is so embarrassed and just mumbles sorry while climbing in the car. Then proceeds to peel out of her own driveway and we walk back home. Since it seems to be assumed I was not leaving the kids unattended. I was right beside the pool doing yard work and planned on continuing once all the kids were in the pool. I did not want to watch a small toddler in the pool as she would require extreme supervision, like sitting and staring directly at her kind of supervision. She could not even stand with her head above water. Also on top of that, my rule was refused when I asked politely the first time and demanded the second time, and then this woman tried to leave. After knowing I said no. For anyone who is saying well you could have just watched her, no I couldn't. I didn't want to, and I don't need a reason not to be a free babysitter for a tiny toddler that I have literally never met. But I am letting you into the pool. Your mom is too lazy to care about your safety is all. OP. Yes, she tried so hard to make me look like the bad guy when all she had to do was sit on my patio and watch her kids play. Person. Has kids. Ms. It's free real babysitting. OP. Yes, and this idiot doesn't even know me, but was ready to just abandon her kids with me. We only ever said hi to each other like one time at the neighborhood park. Oh, she was going to drive off and just leave her kids at your house for who knows how long. I read another story recently that reminded me of this incident, which took place in the early 2000s. I was working at a large church, 2,000 members, and on Sundays I ran the audio and video booth. We had 3 services. A 7 a.m. early service, the main service at 10 a.m., and a late service at 11:30 a.m. Each service ran for about an hour and 15 minutes. One Sunday during the 10 a.m. service the pastor's wife went into labor 3 weeks early. The pastor left in the middle of his sermon and the youth pastor took over. The youth pastor did a great job of taking over and wishing the mother and baby well, and that service wrapped up early. We had a quick meeting to decide what to do about the 11:30 service, and the youth pastor volunteered to give a sermon he had prepaid for the youth group later in the week. It was his first time giving a sermon in front of that many people up on the big stage. He was nervous and rolled through it quickly, then forgot about the closing songs, so church ended at 12:15 instead of the normal 12:45. Everyone had cleared out of the church by 12:30-ish. I shut down all the equipment and turned out the lights and went down the hall to make sure the lights were out in the classrooms like I normally did. One light was on, and I found Kay, another church employee who worked in the nursery on Sundays. She was sitting in a rocking chair rocking a toddler, and I saw tears rolling down Kay's face. I asked her what was wrong, and she could hardly speak, she was so upset. She said the toddler's parents had dropped him off before the early service and never came back. The poor baby had been there for almost 5 hours. The parents had not given a contact number. All Kay knew was the child's first name. I immediately called the youth pastor, who quickly turned around and came back to the church. The child was very out of sorts, either hungry or tired. We had snacks but no food, and there wasn't really a place to put a kid down for a nap. I ran to get some chicken nuggets while they figured out what to do. When I got back, a couple had pulled in right in front of me. They asked where everyone was, and I said church ended early. They said okay, we are just here to pick up our son. I wasn't about to get involved with the drama, so I just unlocked the door and let them in. The youth pastor was livid and lit into them. It turns out the parents wanted some time alone and had been dropping their kid off at church and then leaving to go do stuff. They had been doing this for weeks, just dropping him around 7:45 a.m. and coming to pick him up around 12:45 p.m. Here is the part where the parents are really entitled. They got mad at the youth pastor for ending church early. They yelled at him for endangering their child and threatened to sue. The dad was up in the youth pastor's face, and I thought they might fight, but the youth pastor was a big dude, and I think that kept the dad from doing anything else. I didn't stay in there, I went into the next room with Kay and the child and gave him the nuggets, which he gulped down. The parents finally took the kid and left. The youth pastor and his wife took us to lunch because we, mostly Kay, were still upset by the whole thing. I think about that kid a lot. I hope his parents didn't abandon him. I wish I had a follow-up, but as far as I know, they never came back. Parents like that need their kid taken away from them, as what they did is considered child abandonment. The reason they never showed up again is because they knew that if they tried that crap again, there is a decent chance that CPS and/or the police would be called for child abandonment. I grew up a pastor's kid and took over the nursery often from the age of 14 till I left, but it's absolutely alarming to me how often this happens. One day I and my mom had to stay behind till 2 p.m. because the parents slept too long at home and forgot to come to get their 18-month son. Police were there an hour before the parents showed up, and they were livid with me, a 14-15-year-old girl, but they didn't leave me any contact information. Not sure what happened after that, but I hope the parents got a good wake-up call to not be pose parents. Wait, no one noticed this kid was there for 5 hours straight every week? Like, you people go to all 3 services regularly? How did no one notice this poor kid? Mill says she deserves to know when we start trying for a baby. Oh boy. You already know. I'm 23F, husband is 27M. She said I deserve to know when you're going to start trying to have kids. I don't need all the gory details, but I do think I deserve to know the truth and have a heads up. When I was explaining, way too nicely, how that was TMI and that we would want to wait to announce in case I had a loss or something, she then went on a rant about how I'm disgusting. All she wanted when she had a loss was to go cry to her mom and tell her everything. So for me to want to keep her grandbaby a secret, despite all the support she would give me because she just wants to help, is absolutely disgusting. All of this occurred on a phone call when my husband and I were announcing that we had just bought our first home, and instead of a normal congratulations, we got roasted with insults. We're disrespectful, how selfish of us to not include them in our home buying process. We need to humble ourselves and ask them for help because they've bought a house before and we haven't. They're so hurt, and we're moving a few hours away, so we're taking away the kind of grandparents they want to be. On and on and on about how our actions affect their lives, and we need to share what's going on in our lives and not be so secretive. Oh yeah, and we are the entitled ones apparently. For living our own lives and not wanting their opinions. Not sure how that works. Congratulations on having the sense to move a few hours away. Makes it harder for Mill to be in your business all the time. And if she doesn't start backing off, tell her the only type of grandmother she's going to be is grandma that we never see. OP. Lol, speaking of being in our business. She was also mad because she had been spending months searching all over the state for a piece of land to build a compound that she wanted us to move onto with her. She's already talked both her parents and her in-laws into it, but apparently was also planning on announcing to us soon about our joining too. And it's so disrespectful of us because we've now wasted all her time planning it out to be so perfect for us. This lady is delusional. Mill, if you don't pull your head out, you won't find out about any grandbabies until they graduate college. Insulting us and acting entitled won't get you what you want. You should have probably bought a house several states away. She said it herself, all she wanted to do was to go to her mom and cry. She is not your mom. Congrats on the baby and the move. Both you and your husband are doing great. Make sure you ignore all her advice and demands.